This is Giovanni Di Stefano of Studio Legale Internazionale. Now, I'm dealing today with the case of Dr. Crippen. Now, all of you that have followed this case will know where we have reached so far. It's been in the newspapers, of course, that we applied to the Justice Minister, Jack Straw, thank God that he's gone, and he had refused our application for an exhumation, and the Criminal Cases Review Commission, of course, had said quite clearly that the nearest relative wasn't a sufficient close enough, the proximity wasn't there for them to advance the case. Now, what I had to do was the following. One of the weaknesses in this case has always been the unavailability of what I call admissible evidence. Now, what is admissible evidence? Admissible evidence are documents, testimony, any form of depositions which can actually be included in any court process. That is what we were sadly missing, because Dr. Foran, if you remember, he was a scientist from Michigan State University who had made this wonderful television program on PBS in America, and who had said that he had tested the gender DNA on the remains of Hildrop Crescent, and it had come out that it was a male and not a female. Of course, that would mean that the indictment against Dr. Crippen would be fatally flawed, and that Dr. Crippen, of course, was innocent. Now, it's taken some considerable time, and one of the weaknesses where I didn't push the Criminal Cases Review Commission, because even if we had succeeded in establishing proximity, we had no real evidence in admissible format. But everything has now dramatically changed, because here we have the document from Dr. Foran that is now what I call admissible format. And Dr. Foran analyzes and explains how he has derived, how he has reached the conclusion after DNA testing that the remains at Hildrop Crescent were in fact those of a male and not a female, and therefore Dr. Crippen is innocent. Now, knowing the system, of course, as I know how obstinate the governments can be, I've taken a different strategy. I've applied to Ken Clarke, who's the now Chancellor, the Lord Chancellor, Minister of Justice as such, and I have asked him for the prerogative of pardon, because the Criminal Cases Review Commission, in any case, will be difficult for them to change their minds, because they're obstinate and there's a political organisation, and don't let them fool you that they are not. It's very, very much pro-prosecution minded, and in many ways quite rightly so, because there's so many applicants today. So now we have, in the case of Dr. Crippen, admissible evidence that the remains in Hildrop Crescent were those of a male and not a female, and therefore the words of Lord Ulverston, who was the Lord Chief Justice who presided over the trial in 1910, 100 years ago, if the remains in Hildrop Crescent are those of a male, this defendant is entitled to walk from the dock. Well, now I say to Ken Clarke that this defendant is entitled to the prerogative of pardon, and for the Criminal Cases Review Commission to really look deeply into themselves and say, are they going to review this matter on a proper basis, or are they just going to let it go? And as far as exhumation is concerned, this man, with all the Christian values that we have, deserves to go back to America, where he should have been in the first place, and that is where he should be buried. And it's for Ken Clarke now to make that decision and to say, yes, this man can be exhumed. Giovanni Di Stefano, Studio Legale Internazionale from the Middle East. Thank you.